Black Op Radio presents 50 Reasons for 50 Years. Why the Warren Commission may be the greatest fraud perpetrated on the American public. Now your host, Len Osanek.
In this week's episode, Jim Fetzer reveals the failings of the Secret Service in protecting the presidential motorcade in Dealey Plaza.
I'm Jim Fetzer, the editor of Murder in Dealey Plaza and other books on the assassination of JFK and many articles as well.
The other members of the detail have apparently left to go into the follow-up car, which will be the car immediately behind the president's car in the motorcade. The Secret Service are following the car out. They're standing on the running board of the follow-up car, and, as is their custom, until the president's car picks up speed, usually about 20 miles an hour, run alongside of the car. When the car is moving, the Secret Service drop back, jump into the follow-up car, and stay right with him. The driver of the follow-up car keeps his car about no more than 10 feet at the maximum, and usually about 6 feet behind the presidential car at all times, regardless of the speed.
I'd just like to make a few observations about the Warren Commission. The big picture on the assassination is this. We have more than 15 indications of Secret Service complicity in setting him up for the hit. The military intelligence unit was ordered to stand down. They should have been distributed throughout the city in order to provide protection for the president. Instead, the crowds were allowed to build up and spill into the street, 8, 10, 12 deep. Open windows along the motorcade route. The manhole covers were not welded shut. The motorcycle escort was cut down to 4, and the police officers were instructed not to ride ahead of the rear wheels. One of the officers observed this was the damnedest formation he'd ever seen. Not only were they on a changed route, which ordinarily the Secret Service never does because they have to investigate all of the buildings along the entire route, all the occupants who would be there. So they ordinarily fix a motorcade route and never change it. But this one not only included a 90-degree turn off of Main Street onto Houston, but a 110-degree turn back onto Elm Street, which was another violation of Secret Service protocol, which I'm convinced was done to slow down the limousine without alarming the occupants. Then, most astonishingly, William Greer, the driver, after bullets had begun to be fired, pulled the limousine to the left and to a halt.
Then came the official announcement that John Fitzgerald Kennedy, 35th President of the United States, was dead. Blood was wiped from the presidential limousine as it was parked outside the hospital's emergency entrance.
By the time they got to Parkland Hospital, a Secret Service agent took a bucket of water and a sponge and began washing the blood and brains out of the limousine, which of course was the destruction of a crime scene on wheels. There was actually a through-and-through bullet hole in the windshield. Several civilians had observed it. A police officer actually stuck a pencil through it. As soon as the Secret Service noticed the attention, they moved the limousine where it wasn't publicly accessible. And then on Monday, the day of the formal state funeral, the limousine was sent back to Ford Motor Company. It was completely stripped down to bare metal and rebuilt, destroying a major crime scene on wheels. Those were the actions of the federal government in seeking to investigate the death of your president and mine, John F. Kennedy.
Stay tuned for the next installment as we expose week after week 50 lies the Warren Commission would like you to believe.